Everybody, this is Jennifer. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm drinking coffee. I don't normally do that, but this is special coffee because it's got whipped cream and booze in it. Today I'm doing my reading wrap up for the last week and a half and my Springathon TBR. So that's a lot of stuff to cover. Well, let's get into it. Okay, since we last spoke, the first book that I finished was An Artist in Venice by Adam Van Doren. This is a hard copy. I was reading the ebook copy, and I love this book so much that I ordered a real copy so I could have one on my shelves. The book is short, and it goes over Adam Van Doren's visits to Venice for the purposes of his art and goes over some artists' relationship with Venice. It also has some excellent illustrations. See, like that. It's really good and it's really nice, and I gave it 5 stars, and it's one of my top 3 books of the year so far. It was very evocative, and it gave a really good picture of the art world's involvement in Venice. It's not, it's too short to be all that extensive, but what there is was really interesting and I loved it. And then the next book I finished was A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood. This one was 4 stars for me, and I have a feeling I'm going to be rereading it, but I'm going to try to keep it until like the second half of the year for the reread. I really liked this a lot. I was prepared to like it because I liked the movie that was based on it. But there was some differences, and I actually liked the differences. I think this went into George's psyche a whole lot. This book is about George. He's an English professor in California. He's British, and his lover George, his longtime partner, had died, and while he was visiting his family. And George is processing it, trying to, figure out what he's going to do with himself. And he's got this very interesting and very complex inner life, which I don't remember being as well fleshed out in the movie as it is in this book. It's a pretty short novella, so I kind of would have liked more. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I feel like it might improve upon further acquaintance even. So I might reread this later in the year. It's really short, and the guy who narrates the audiobook is like my second favorite narrator of all time. So it will not be a chore if I decide to do that. So yeah. What, however, was a chore was last Saturday's Dewey's 24-hour readathon. It did not go well. I will just tell you that. I read less than 200 pages, 197 to be precise. So I had a late night with friends the night before, and I was not my best self on Saturday. Well, last Saturday. So I didn't get all that much read. And I don't know. I left a lot of my TBR to chance, and that was probably a mistake. The first couple of times I did Dewey's 24-hour readathon, it worked out really well. But now there's just too much going on in my life, and I'm at a point where I cannot stay up all night long. It's just not a thing. I don't know. I love the idea of Dewey's, but it just, after the first couple of times, it's just never worked out the way I wanted it to. But the first thing I started, you know what I did? Okay, so I started Dewey's with the books that I thought I was most likely to DNF. So I started with This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And yeah, after I think 30 something page, I ended up DNFing this. It's pretty much like, I feel like it's a coming of age novel, sort of, and it's about this character named Amory Blaine, and at first I got Auntie Mame vibes, and I loved Auntie Mame when I read it, but in the end, it turned out to be to its detriment, because really all this book made me want to do was reread Auntie Mame. And the main character, Amory, I just found, I'm trying to think of the word, insufferable. I found Amory pretty insufferable, so I stopped suffering him, so I DNF'd it. The next thing I picked up for my readathon, another book I thought I was likely to DNF, was Confessions of an English Opium Eater by Thomas de Quincey. And this book has 3 different essays. The first one is The Confessions of an English Opium Eater, and then it's got 2 follow-ups, which are Suspiria de Profundis and The English Mail Coach, which are all kind of like sequel essays to the titular one. And I'm actually very surprised to find that I liked this. I have not read it since Saturday, but I am going to continue. I just have a whole lot of books that I currently have going on. So yeah, this is one of the books I am currently reading, since we've segued into that without me noticing. And another thing I am currently reading is the book I picked up from my TBR Clear Out TBR after I finished A Single Man, and that is Time Was Soft There by Jeremy Mercer, a Paris sojourn at Shakespeare and Company. So basically, this guy has to move from Canada because he was a crime reporter and he got caught up in some unsavory business, and somebody likely wanted to kill him. And so he goes, like, he packs up his stuff and he hightails it to Paris, and he finds himself living at Shakespeare and Company. I think he might be, I haven't quite gotten to the point where he moves in yet, I don't think. But I'm liking the writing in this. I'm not too fond of the author. To be perfectly honest, when you start a story off being like, yeah, I got into some trouble, it's not the most endearing thing, but I'm finding the story very interesting and I'm liking his writing style, so I'm going to keep going with that. Another thing I picked up for my Readathon TBR was Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector. I'm only like 12 pages into this, which is a good chunk of it because it's only like 88 pages, but it's still not enough for me to know how I'm feeling about this. I did think when I was reading it initially that the whole stream of consciousness thing, I'm not sure how well it's gonna work for me, because I find that it's less like a stream and more like a rapid, and I'm finding like the ideas are just like sailing past me and I'm not able to like get a hold of anything. But I'm gonna keep going, and hopefully there comes to a point, maybe, or maybe I'll get to a point where I don't care if there's a point. Basically, it's in the form of a letter, and it's just a really, really long letter, apparently. I don't know. To some, like, erstwhile lover, maybe? I'm not sure exactly. Like I said, there's nothing for me to hold on to in this one, so I'm just gonna ride along and see where it takes me. Next book I picked up for my Readathon TBR was from my Read German Books 2020 TBR. It's Imperium by Christian Kracht, and it's about August Engelbert, who goes to, it was formerly called the Bismarck Archipelago. It's in the South Seas, anyway, and he wants to take over a little island to farm coconuts, be a nudist, worship the sun, and not eat meat. And I was kind of like, based on the setup and all that, I kind of thought it was going to be a little funny. And I thought it was going to be whimsical. What I'm finding, though, is it's a bit boring. I feel like the writing is a bit labored for its subject matter. The sentence structure is overly complex. Like, you'll get, well, there's just this one paragraph that's a super complex one sentence, and I'm like, that's not necessary, and it makes the reading difficult. And this isn't exactly a, you know, I don't know. I'm not far enough. I'm about a third of the way, almost. No, you know what? I'm a good third of the way into it, and I don't feel like it's making a whole lot of points, but the writing is overly complicated, and frankly, sometimes the grammar seems a bit off to me. So the reading of it is not as good as it's not as like fluid as it should be. It's a little labored. I'm getting to where I'm really interested in the story, so that is helping, but I don't know. Right now, this is sitting at a 2-star read for me, and I really hope it improves. So the next thing I picked up, it was on audiobook. It's read by the author, and it's The Year of the Monkey by Patti Smith. I've had this book, and I've had it to read for a long time. Well, ever since it came out, which was last year, and I just hadn't got around to it. So I finished the audiobook version of A Single Man, and so I needed something else to read, to listen to on my walks in the evenings. So I picked this up from the library, and it came through on hold, so now I've been listening to it. I'm a third of the way done with this one, and I'm enjoying it. It's a little on the short side, which is fine, and there's a lot about like dreams, and just dreams is a major focus of this book. And one of her friends is in a coma after having a cerebral hemorrhage, and so I'm enjoying it. And I like Patti Smith's writing style, and she's good with the narration, so this is an enjoyable read. It's kind of middle of the road. It's not going to be as high as M Train or Just Kids for me. Alright, so I know that we're getting into a lot of territory here, but I just wanted to show you a quick couple of books I picked up from the some various online distributors, and this is Hurry Up and Wait. It's a collaboration between Myra Coleman and Daniel Handler. It's the second one they did for the Museum of Modern Art, right there. And it's got illustrations by Myra Coleman, and then some text from Daniel Handler. And so I've been enjoying Myra Coleman's work. I just discovered it recently in a haul that I got from Book Outlet. So I wanted some more because I ran through those books already. And then the next book I got, this is the cover is actually illustrated by Myra Coleman, so I found this. And this is by Gustav Janusz, Conversations with Kafka, and it's got an introduction by Francine Prose. It's about this guy, Gustav Janusz, whose dad worked with Kafka in his insurance company, and they introduce him, and he's he's a 17-year-old fledgling poet, and then they have conversations and stuff. I read things where it's a little bit iffy if this stuff is actually happened. I haven't read it, so I have no conclusions to come to whatsoever. And I might read this in conjunction with the Kafka I have on my Read German Books 2020 list. And I think this might actually be... The author is Czech, but this might actually be translated from the German. I couldn't verify, but what you gonna do? Anyway, so yeah, that is another new book I have. I wanted to go into my reading plans for May. So as you can tell by my recent talking, I have quite a few books on the go right now, so I didn't really want to do a TBR for May. However, starting May 4th through May 17th, there is a readathon going on called Springathon. It's being hosted by Natalie at A Curious Reader and Emma at A Cup of Books. The announcement videos will be linked below, and it's got several prompts. The main prompt is to read at least one nonfiction book of nature writing. I have 2 books on this TBR that should cover the whole thing, and you'll see in a minute. And yeah, so they're both nonfiction. So the first book I have, and this covers, besides the nonfiction, this covers 3 prompts, which are bird, animal, and plant. And it is called A Naturalist at Large by Bern Heydrich. I recently got this on Kindle when it was on super duper mega Kindle deals. I believe it was a monthly deal, but I don't think it's on sale anymore. And yeah, so I'm gonna put a picture right over there, and it's got so much in it. Okay, so what it is, it's a collection of Bern Heydrich's best essays. It's the best essays of Bern Heydrich, and it covers like From the Earth Up, which is life in the soil. So that should definitely, oh, Tannenbaum, that definitely counts as a plant. Let's see here. It's got insects, ravens and other birds, hence the bird prompt, and mammals. There's a whole section on mammals, so that covers animals. So yeah, that covers 3 of the prompts, besides the, you know, nonfiction. And then the second book I have, technically I don't, it's bound up in book form, so I'm counting it as a book. But it's technically, I think it's like the transcription of a couple of talks that were given by Lawrence Durrell, and this is Blue Thirst. And it's a book, okay, so it's his essays about living in the Greek Isles, and it's got water on the cover, so it covers water and the travel and destination prompt, so that covers all my bases. And I'm going to start with this one. This one only has like 50 some odd pages, and that way I'll still be able to read it while getting all my other books read, and so I can just, you know, be free and I can read. So those are my picks for Springathon. And yeah, it's been really interesting seeing what everybody picked for theirs. I've quite enjoyed looking at everybody's. Yeah, so that's it. That is my reading wrap up for the last week or so. I'm going to finish off my coffee and maybe work on reading some more of my books, maybe get a little bit of walk-in with my Year of the Monkey. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you're participating in Springathon or what you've been reading, or if you did Readathon, how yours went. Yeah, be nice to hear from you. Thank you guys for stopping by. See ya.